Good evening and welcome to our instructional policy meeting on June the 3rd. We're beginning promptly at 4:30 p.m. There is no need to approve the previous minutes. And so with that being said, I won't belabor the point. And Ms. Culver, you may go ahead with your presentation.
So our discussion topics for tonight, items.
Okay, one moment, please. Could you make sure that Ms. Culver has has a mic?
Our discussion topics for tonight, we are looking at items 2411, 2428, 2429, and 2434, which are curriculum purchases and site licenses for the 24-25 school year. One is for the criminal justice and animal pathways from CEV Multimedia. Another one is for the addition of digital licenses for the Chinese curriculum in grades 3 through 5 from Hippocampe Productions. The third is for Insight Behavioral Consulting for our special ed students that are attending the extended school year program and to provide services for them. And then the final one is a purchase agreement renewal for the 3-year renewal of Unique Learning Systems, News to You, Symbol Sticks Prime, Positivity, and L3 Skills, an alternative curriculum for students in our low-incidence classrooms.
Thank you. All right. Could you tell me what the first recommendation was? Was that the license renewal?
The first was online digital curriculum and a site license for the animal management and criminal justice pathways.
And the animal pathway, is that like a veterinarian science, like for those who want to go that way? And what grades are, and this is through 9th through 12th for the criminal justice and animal pathways?
Yeah, grades 10 through 12 because
Okay.
they go into their academy in the 10th grade.
I remember there were some discussions about 9th grade, at some point in 9th grade, that they would be able to enter to. Is there anything you could address with that now? If not, don't worry.
No, we haven't done any movement on that at this point. 9th grade, they're still entering their freshman academy, still doing career exploration and making sure that they have the right fit. And then they finish their pathway in 3 years.
Okay, thank you. The Chinese curriculum for grades 3rd through 5th grade, is that the Mandarin?
You know what, actually, as I go back and look at it, we are covering French and Spanish for 3rd through 5th grade and the addition of Chinese for 3rd through 5th grade.
Okay, so it's also French and Spanish.
Correct.
Okay. When will they, do the students get to select which foreign language, and then is that the language that they'll take for those? Will they take it consecutively, like French 1, French 2? Mm-hmm. How was that set up?
So normally the selection varies based on what's offered at the school, and a lot of that just boils down to the availability of teachers at that school. So if we have the Chinese teacher, then we are going to go to Chinese. If we have French.
Understood. Okay, because like STEM, we know they're doing Chinese.
Correct.
And then this is the first I'm hearing of French, though. Where are we having French? Which cluster are we seeing French at? This is the first. It's Resnick alone? Okay. Yes, it's for 3rd through 5th. Okay, so, all right.
I would have to verify.
That's all right. I heard, Member Molnar, her learners attend Resnick, so.
I know some IB schools do French. I don't know if it's Resnick alone.
Understood. Yeah, okay. That was just my inquiry, just to be informed. And then the summer, Inside Behavior Consulting. Can you give me a little clarity on what that is exactly?
So for our very low incident students, mostly our MD or students who are living with autism, when there is so much loss over the summer that it's recommended that they participate in extended school year, then this is the program for them.
So is it like they're still going, it's an academic where they're going through each coursework, or is it review with based off the standards or what they were supposed to have covered that year based off their IEP or plan?
It's more IEP focused. There is some academics, but the focus is to keep them from losing both the behavioral gains that they've made through their IEP, but it's focused on IEP goals.
Okay, that's perfect. And the unique learning systems, the alternative curriculum. Could you give me some clarity on that too? That was the last thing you said.
So that as well is for our low incidence students in the multiple disabilities classrooms.
So it's connected with, that's why I wanted to ask that question, because I see the Inside Behavior Consulting, and then it was another ask for the unique learning systems. And
so one is the curriculum during the school year, the other is the summer extended learning.
Got you, out of school time. Excellent. Okay, thank you. Those are all the questions that I had for what you had mentioned. Absolutely. Member Molnar.
Thank you, Chair Jackson. I did think of the title. The hippocampus, particularly, I see it's the foreign language digital curriculum for our elementary students. A question that I asked a few months ago, and I see that it's summer break and everyone has all their Chromebooks in the building over the summer. Language especially is something that I think would be nice for students to not have a summer gap on, even though it's not necessarily something we're tested on, but something, especially if you have multiple students, right? Multiple children going to the same building, they're learning the same language, something for them to do over the summer. Is there any plan or opportunity for families who need their Chromebooks over the summer to have access to those Chromebooks?
I know there was discussion. I do not believe at this time there has been any final policy regarding the taking home of Chromebooks over the summer, other than for students that are involved in summer programming. They make Chromebooks available for them to use at the school. That's something I would have to get back with you, and we would have to talk with Zach and find out. But I know there was discussion around families being able to take ownership of what happens to that Chromebook. We just don't have a policy for that yet.
Member Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Does every elementary school have a foreign language, or is it only selected schools? Like 3rd through 5th, as it states up there, 3rd through 5th grade. Does every elementary school have the opportunity to learn?
I don't want to give you an accurate answer. My off-the-cuff answer is yes.
Okay.
Every school has access to a foreign language, but that is something that I will have to verify.
And this is this year, everybody will have a foreign language going into the next school year, or they already had it?
There's foreign language available at majority, and I believe all, but I don't know about Bridges and some of our offshoots and things like that. So I don't want to give you an inaccurate answer. I would rather research and give you a definite.
Okay, because I know I had visited some of the schools in my cluster, and we talked about foreign languages, and they were saying that they would love to have a foreign language at their school. So I would assume not every school has it. And if not, is our plans for 2024-25 school year to make sure that every 3rd through 5th grade have the opportunity?
So that will have to be, to me, a curriculum question, because
Okay.
that's not my lane, and I don't want to give you inaccurate information.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Jackson, board members, the answer to that question is no. Every school doesn't, and no, every school will not have it in 24-25.
Is it in certain clusters? I'm sorry, Chair, Madam Chair. Is it just like certain clusters, like the Firestone cluster, since they're IB, they have the foreign languages?
No, that is correct. They do have foreign language because it is a part of the IB program. And I, too, am still learning all of the schools. But what we did was across Pfeiffer, Helen Arnold, and I want to say either Krause or Schumacher or both. Jeez, I'm forgetting that name. Mandarin was put across those schools as a trial to see how it would, as a pilot, to see how it would work. Mm-hmm. It worked very successfully as we saw some of the kids come to the board meeting. I think those were from Pfeiffer that came here. However, the scholars that are at Helen Arnold are also speaking. I think probably within about maybe 2 to 3 weeks after the teacher was there, because it's a teacher that split. The kids were actually beginning to speak. What the intentions was to actually put in a Mandarin program. So just the appreciation of Mandarin is what they're receiving now. But when you're talking about a Mandarin program, that involves having their core content taught in Mandarin. So they're reading, they're communicating, they're writing, they're speaking in that core content, and they're also teaching them simultaneously in English as well so that they can take their state test. But that's what the intent was. Due to our budget constraints, that's not going to happen the way that I would have wanted it to happen for this year. So we're going to study this year to see how that could possibly happen for the 25-26 school year. That won't be in every school.
Okay.
Because, first of all, we don't even have the teachers for it. Mm-hmm. That's part of the major problem. And we just so happen to have been able to interview a couple of teachers, and this teacher, there were 2 teachers that we were one was sent to one of the other schools, and then we hired the other teacher because we wanted to pilot how Mandarin would work across, giving something to the other clusters because they did not have it. So will they have it in 25-26? No, they will not. Will it, in 24-25? No, ma'am. It will not happen. What about 25-26? Probably not. Not across the entire district. Because
Well, is it at least in clusters that they have the opportunity? Like North is my cluster, and that's an international community. Like, that is an opportunity that we're missing the beat at with that whole international community. But then you still have students that, speak English, but you have students that's trying to learn English. Our students that are English-speaking students, I would like to see, and I think it would be a great opportunity for Akron Public Schools, is maybe teaching the Pali in that community, because since we have such a large cluster of residents from Balinese, Nepali, and others, that would be a great opportunity for our English-speaking students to learn another language. And you already have those tutors in the schools that's translating for those students that speak Nepali.
Right, but they're not teachers in some cases. Some of those tutors are not actually teachers. So it becomes a licensure issue, which you have to make sure that they are licensed teachers, because if that's the case, then they go through the certification process for state of Ohio, they get a license, and then they're able to teach.
Well, do we have something where we can help those that speak, the dual languages to maybe kind of like guide them on how to get their license so that they can be a dual purpose versus just.
Well, they have to be degreed, and they have to meet.
Most of them are out in there, but I'm just saying, is there a process where we're able to help our
Yeah,
teachers
that's
that
done
are
through human
currently in the
capital,
system?
but they
Okay.
have to be degreed, and their degrees have to be recognized by
In
the
the
United
United
States
States,
and
right.
by the state of Ohio.
Right.
And in many cases, they're not. I've spoken with 2 or 3 people who I would love to have them in the school system. Unfortunately, the United States does not recognize their credentials.
Right.
One of which has been a phenomenal supporter of APS and works diligently at North and within the North cluster, supporting our families, our Nepalian families, with the language barrier. But unfortunately, his credentials are not accepted by the United States
Right.
because he was a teacher in his country.
Right. You also have I'm sorry.
I just want to, because we need to move
yeah,
it along
okay.
because we have
Okay.
presentations.
All right. Oh, I thought
You can finish
okay.
your thought. Oh, because I didn't want to, if you had a thought. Okay, I just kind of,
Okay.
all right. Thank you for that discussion. And Member Hall, I think that was very relevant. And we can have follow-up discussion later about some innovative ways. I think the community really gave us some insight when we were looking at the situation about the tutors as far as volunteering, because it's one thing to be a licensed educator. It's another thing to offer a club and after school, out of school timing. And our state, our wonderful state, also offers a great deal of money for out of school time. If someone's willing to write their grant, and we can have volunteers deal with expanding programming on Member Hall to where we can have those members volunteering and teaching them Burmese and things of that nature. So that's something for us to look at as far as being creative and innovative with, and I would love to follow up. We can talk about that later because I think that is a great idea. Yes, quickly. That's why I ended
Sorry,
there.
thank you. So Section 201, Business Affairs, the 4 items we saw there. I see that our next committee meeting for here instructional policy is not until August 5th. Is this everything new that will be brought to the board, or will there be other items that the board should pay attention to over the summer that might be upcoming that is relevant to instructional policy for next school year?
So once again, I have to defer. I am subbing. So I cover today's agenda. So,
Completely understand.
yeah.
And I think that's because the last presentation was also with Dr. Halassa with the implementing of things to adopt. And I think this is kind of winding us up for the upcoming school year because we have to have things in place because teachers have to do teacher development. So I think we should be in good shape because there's not going to be enough time for us to pass it through and to approve it. So it would have to wait till the following academic year in any event. All right, thank you. Thank you, Member Molnar Hall and Superintendent for that very much needed discussion information. All right, next we have college and careers updates.
So, Madam Chair, we would like to propose offering another recognized credential and helping our students become licensed referees. So we have Nate Ruyan from College and Career Academies and Joe Vasilati and Kenny, what's your last name? Kenny Green. Green.
Okay.
That are going to share what that looks like with us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over. I skipped over a portion. I apologize. And officiating license recognized as industry credentials by our Department of Education is Nate. Nate.
That's what
okay.
we're doing, right?
And then after that, Marcy's not. Who's someone you're subbing for Marcy? And then Miss Falk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I wanted to make sure because I didn't hear her folk, and I was like, did I skip? Because I went straight to CCA, College of Careers. Okay.
I caught you. We had CCAA anyway.
Good stuff. Thank you. All right. So.
Hi, good evening. We're here to discuss 2 exciting opportunities. The first being a new industry credential-only course. So in the state of Ohio, Just to clarify, this will fall under cornerstone number 2, our commitment to academic achievement. Sorry, there's a bit of a lag. So the objective of this presentation is to become grounded in Ohio's industry credential-only courses, because we do offer courses for specifically focused on industry credential other than what we're proposing tonight, which is the Ohio High School Athletic Association licensed referee. So that is exciting. We will be definitely one of the first districts to, embed this type of opportunity. And then we're going to kind of quickly discuss next steps for implementation in 24-25. So the industry credential-only courses are specifically centered around industry credentials, so we don't embed other state standards in them. The goal is for students to earn 12 points in a particular career field and help maximize high-quality employment opportunities upon graduation. These courses are eligible for career tech funding, and these credentials can be reimbursed by the state. So the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce recently approved the Ohio High School Athletic Association officiating license as a 4-point industry credential. We are currently recommending this be offered as 2 separate semester courses, the first being fundamentals of refereeing, and then second semester would be responsibilities of refereeing. All students will be enrolled in fundamentals of refereeing in the fall, and the goal would be for those students to become licensed to ref 2 to 3 sports. If students are interested in becoming licensed to do additional sports, then they would participate in the second semester course. So this does cover the entire gamut of high school sports. So just quickly, field hockey, football, soccer, volleyball, lacrosse, ice hockey, basically every sport that requires a referee. Our hope and goal, once again, is that students would be licensed in 2 to 3 sports in a semester. In terms of curriculum, and this is really the key component, Mr. Vasilati was able to identify the reps officiating curriculum, which after meeting with their team, it is very, very well done. It is an online system that is entirely modular based. So we will obviously have a quality instructor in place, but students are able to work at their own pace. So we're envisioning in this classroom, you're going to have students trying to become a football referee, a basketball referee, so that it's not going to be every student in the room is all taking the same referee program. So the seat license is $45 per student, and it does include the exam and training for up to 3 sports. And once again, the cost of that is reimbursable by the state. So why officiating?
Thank you, Nate. So why officiating indeed? If you've been to some of our sporting events in APS, you've probably seen some older officials who probably aren't moving as well as they used to in certain sports, which is really important. Basically, there's a national shortage of officials. In the last 3 years, nationwide, the number of officials is down 20%, from 250,000 to 200,000. It's even more acute in Ohio. New officials in Ohio only come back on average of 20% past their 3rd year of officiating, mainly due to a lack of support and the verbal criticism they receive during some sporting events. So I think this is an outstanding opportunity. There are approximately 80 schools throughout Ohio who are either trying this now or looking at doing it next year. We would be the first in the Akron area. To my knowledge, I know Jackson down in Stark County has been doing this for a couple years. So we do have a shortage of officials, and the benefit, as Nate spoke to, for the seniors and And North has volunteered to pilot this, ideally with 20 students, 20 seniors next fall. Would be for them to gain credit toward graduation, but not only that, they can earn money right away. In theory, in the fall, if they get certified to officiate a winter sport, wrestling, basketball, for example, or a spring sport, they can be good to go after that fall semester once they've completed their exam, which, by the way, the exam usually is a $70 fee for an adult official to get certified, say, to be a wrestling official. But that's part of the package here in the $45. So the students don't have any money out of pocket. The only expense they might encounter while still under our care before they graduate would be an officiating outfit. And we work closely with Fully Equipped, a local foundation who's donated a lot to us, as Deborah Folk knows very well. And I've already talked to them a bit about this and the possibility of helping kids get outfitted to be officials once they've earned their certification. So it's an exciting opportunity. I remember first speaking with Dr. Robinson and Board President Autry about it in the fall at a leadership symposium at the University of Akron. And we were kind of just learning about it then, and we thought it was a really cool idea. So I'm very happy we're looking into it more thoroughly here. And then the post-graduation opportunities are a lifetime worth of earning potential for these young men and women who get certified. For a high school kid, for example, if a student at North gets certified to officiate a middle school basketball next winter, they can make $40 for a middle school basketball game, which usually lasts an hour to an hour and a half. So that's pretty good money for a teenager. I mean, that's decent money for me. Like, I wouldn't mind that. But that earning potential, of course, can be ongoing after graduation. So we're excited about this opportunity.
I'll begin with my questioning. First, I think this is wonderful, because if anyone's followed me on this board, I always talk about how can students get paid right now in real time, because it's very cute to have college career in these programs, but can they feed themselves? And at the end of the day, it's about developing a skill that then they can apply to provide for themselves, right? And so I love how expeditiously you guys pursued this, because you said you heard about it, in the fall, and now here we are implementing it. It's the same way, and I love how quickly we were able to do that. And it doesn't seem like a lot of red tape. The same way I'm saying, why is this not happening with masonry programs? And, I went to Booker's graduation, and this is something I'll talk to about college careers. I love this. I'm 100% for this, but I just feel like this is how all the programming should lay out. They get a credential, they become certified. When you talk about endless earning potential, I read something a few years ago about how much money NBA and NFL referees make. So as you start talking, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. This is excellent. Then they can be in college. They're certified. What other certifications do they take? Like, is this the entry level? And because they had this, is there another level that they go to that will get them to the six-figure earning potential? Either way, this type of exposure, and that they can get paid right now in real time, that is modular based, so students can go at their pace. They can do one semester and knock out 3 things, do another semester and knock out something else. I think this is absolutely wonderful, and I'm in complete support of it. You answered a lot of my questions, Mr. Vasilati, because I was going to say, where are you looking to pilot it at? You addressed that, and it was North High School. The fee, I want to ask about the fact that it can be reimbursed by the state. What things can be reimbursed by the state when we look at these credentials? Are all of them reimbursable by the state?
Yeah, the cost of the exam, typically, they do have a reimbursement schedule, like a legitimate spreadsheet that outlines the reimbursement amount by credential. And so we can easily provide that if the board is interested.
Oh, no, I just think that's great that we can, that's something that we can be, even though we can spend it up front, that we can get that money back, and that it just helps our students thrive, and it gives them something that's tangible right now, and it makes sense. that they can set up their schedules, and they're younger, interacting with peers and parents, and a lot of them can let things roll off their back as they secure the bag, as the students say, in officiating games. The next thing, when you said high quality, credential, employable, I think that is the most important part, is that when our students are obtaining and doing college and career pathways, that it is really something tangible and accessible. I attended Bookdale's graduation, and it was a wonderful graduation, and some students attend like cosmetology program. When I was in school, our last week of school, I went to Garfield High School, and that whole cos department was stressing out because they were going to Columbus to sit for their state boards. So that does not exist currently with our program that we're offering. That's problematic for me. It doesn't have anything to do with you. I think, Culver, that's something for me to discuss with you to get more insight, because when we talk about high-quality credentials, I want a high-quality credential at Bookdale, too, when kids are sitting in there to be cosmetologists, and that's not just hair cutting. That means at some point they sit and take their state boards, and they can go into any salon. They can either be self-employed, they can work for Best Cuts, because they have a credential. Because other than that, it's like we're playing in their face and in the community's face saying cosmetology, when it is not. To be a cosmetologist, you know about the muscles in the face. You can do manicures, pedicures, facials, perms, and not just cuts. So I want high quality programming, and I'm glad Equity Committee is after this, in Bookdale Cluster, which we do have with physical therapy. And we talk about certifications, and I wanted to address that here because I also asked a question here about CPR. We were talking about because then you followed up with can the teachers do that? And so I also found out at Bookdale's graduation that our kids are getting all types of certifications, CPR, and through the physical therapy pathway. They are graduating actually certified. And so I wanted to clarify that because that wasn't made clear to this committee when we were asking at that time. It was said that they're getting exposure, but I found out they have certifications the same way I, as a principal in my building, have certification for CPR, and it's like 4 other things. So those are great. I just want to see consistent. I would like to see, as a board member, why I became a board member, practical things where our students are prepared to go into the world and make a living whether they go to college or not, by our relationship. So I'm thankful for you all for researching this and being gritty about it. I love quick turnaround times. I seen it in the fall. We're bringing it to you now. We're telling you this is a win situation. I'm saying I believe it. I'm for it. You know, I could sell this standing on my head. If you're about kids, this is a no-brainer because we're setting them up for success. So I want to thank you all for your due diligence in presenting something like this. And I also wanted to state, I want to cross the board because that cosmetology thing has me in a way, for lack of a better word, and I can't wait to discuss that further with college and careers. All right, yes, Member Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is probably one of the best presentations because you answered every question when you started talking. Will students be paid, in the future? Check, yes. Question, though, the $45 per student, is that on the student? Or is the board paying for, not the board, is APS paying for that and then being reimbursed by the state?
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, great. North is my cluster, so, I'm passionate about that, so I'm very excited about that. When you talked about, Mr. Vassalotti, the shirts, the striped Foot Locker shirts is what I call them, and the black pants and the sneakers, you said you're working with the organization that has the shirts. Or we may be able to reach out to some of our partners and our foundations within the city of Akron to see if they're able to, maybe give a donation, or if there's grant funding to make sure that the students don't have to pay for the uniform, like one shirt, the black pair of pants, and maybe sneakers. We have, unknown. Maybe if a student finishes this program, top of the class, seeing if they would be able to donate a pair of sneakers to them, or just different partners that we have within the city of Akron at our fingertips.
Yes, we're definitely goal-oriented in terms of not putting any cost on the students for this. So I mentioned Fully Equipped. They're one partner we have, has been tremendous. They've donated all kinds of equipment, labor. They've furnished many of our weight rooms, for example. They've already shown interest in supporting this. I would imagine the cost of shoes, shirt, pants is going to be around $100 at least. They're not the most fashionable wardrobe out there, but there's going to be a cost. So hopefully we can help our students as they earn these certifications to not pay out of their own pockets for those. But we definitely are open to exploring other partners too, in addition to Fully Equipped.
Okay. Thank you for this. This is a wonderful opportunity. You said that people are getting older, and when I go to my daughter's basketball games, you see people that are in their 60s running up and down the court, not as fast as they were running 20 years ago when I played sports. So this is very needed. So thank you very much.
That's for sure. I should add just quickly, in terms of who would teach the class, you don't have to be a licensed official to teach the class. Ohio doesn't require that. There is a teacher, Mike Laktash at North, longtime physical education teacher there, who's willing to do it, and he would have access to the curriculum within 72 hours of a purchase order coming through. So that's how that would work. So it's pretty quick.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
And as I understood it, and then Member Molnar, is because you really just need like a proctor for the most part, because you said it's modules, and so they'll get the introduction, and so I think that's great. Member Molnar.
Thank you. And I also completely agree. I'm so excited for this. I mentioned it in one of my community reflections, I think a month ago, because I was at the Ohio School Boards Association meeting, and I went to the OHSAA meetup, and they talked about the refereeing, and they gave an example for any student who might hear of this, that a student went through in the fall, and then over winter break, they made $1,000 officiating. I mean, you see the 60-year-olds up and down the court because the money is still worth it. So this is a very wonderful opportunity. The only concern that they explained to me while I was there was in setting up the program for success, right? We get it implemented 72 hours, we get it taught, we get them uniforms, but then to make sure that they stay active, they stay engaged, they use these certifications. And because whatever their future pathway is, maybe they will be an NFL coach or referee and make way more money than I'll ever see, but maybe they also have goals to be a college athlete or something like that, and refereeing changes your perspective as an athlete. It keeps you involved in the community with the sports. But they said the one warning he gave me is that a lot of the students will start off with the youth sports and the middle school sports, and if they quit, it's usually because of parent involvement. And I know I have kids in sports, and I hear people yell at the ref and try not to yell at the ref. So I was wondering if there's anything that we might be able to do proactively as a district, little flyers, little something. And as parents, we can go to the games and kind of remind each other, remind other people who are there, hey, you know what, we're here for fun. This is, like not a silent Sunday that they have for some of the things, but just to remind that this ref is doing the best job that they can, and just to encourage the kids to keep reffing.
You're exactly right. That's the reason a lot of young officials stop officiating, is because of the negativity they hear from the stands, from the bleachers. So certainly if they're reffing, say, a middle school game at Jennings, we have a North senior doing a middle school basketball game at Jennings, certainly our administrators there, our site supervisor, can be on top of the fans and monitoring their words and actions. And certainly we promote that anyway for our fans. Certainly they get passionate about their sports and sometimes yell a little too much. But thank you for the support. It's a wonderful opportunity for our students, and hopefully leads to a lifetime of earnings. And we're looking forward to trying it. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, yeah, absolutely, Summer. So what I want to say to that, because it's all this rainbow and lollipop stuff, right? If someone is acting unruly at a game, what is our standard operating procedure? Are we not ejecting people from games? I mean, we just need to have procedures in place and be consistent on those procedures. And then these kids, we got to promote grits.
One good thing about being an official is that once the game starts, the officials are the law. So if Nate's mouthing off,
The official has the power to eject
And I'm the
him.
official. I can point to the athletic director or principal and say, hey, he's gone. Get him out of here.
Perfect, and that's what I wanted
Right.
to hear, because that's what needs to happen, is that if a student is playing in this role, then they have to understand, in this position you are leading from this court, and we have to empower them to take the leadership role. Because of all of this, I quit because my feelings was hurt, I quit because someone yelled at me. No, get them out the game, because you have the power and the authority. And then we need to have people there to support those type of actions. I just had to say that, because you're going to not make $40 an hour because someone yelled at you at a stands. Then we need to get your mindset together to where you understand your position, and that you move in a level of empowerment, and that we have people on deck, the principals or whatever, to handle it. 'Cause it's just, I'm sorry, Member Hall.
Real quick, thank you, Madam Chair. You kind of took the words out of my mouth, but since you said that, I'm like, gosh, now I got to stop yelling so much, gosh, because I'm one of those, not extensive, but, But also, are we able to maybe announce at the games, like we have a student that is reffing, to give honor to that student, and also to showcase this is what APS is doing. We have student athletes, too, that will... and then I think people will respect it a little bit more knowing it's a student versus the old guy that just made a bad call and it was a tech and he did.
I hope so. That's a great idea. And take pride that one of our own is working that game.
Somebody's grandpa, they can cuss them up. No, period. They need to get out. Okay, thank you. Thank you all for your comments. Moving along. Or I'm sorry, is there any more questions or comments? Okay, let's move right along then. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we're going to turn it over to Kenny Green, who is going to talk about the textbook adoption.
It works.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here again, as was said, to present to you on the textbook adoption that we are requesting on behalf of our IT interactive media pathway, and specifically for our web design course. Again, this is built upon cornerstone number 2, focusing on academic achievement, ensuring that it is equitable. That was a key part of why we actually went forward with the textbook adoption, as will be presented momentarily. So with our pathways, our CCAA pathways always offer students a 4-course sequence of learning, full years in both 10th and 11th grade, and then semester courses in the 12th grade. So what you see before you is the IT interactive media course sequence that takes place at both our East and Ellet CLCs. We have a comprehensive curriculum that slowly builds up until students are taking web design in the second semester of 12th grade. Of course, that is a pivotal semester because they're usually checked out, and so this is a very wonderful course to have at that time, because it is the time where they take all of their previous learning and put it into use in this web design course. So we, as a committee, met. And our committee priorities were as follows. We wanted to focus on digital resources. We wanted to make sure that whatever we got integrated very smoothly with not only with our learning management system, but with Google Classroom as well. We wanted to make sure that it aligned, and this was key. It aligned with our web exam course blueprint, because we want to make sure that students are passing state assessments. We made sure that it was connecting to our CTSO initiatives and that it was hands-on. Again, another key piece that came up during our committee work. And then, again, making sure that it equipped our students with skills and knowledge, not just pretty work, not busy work, but work that actually translated into something that happens in the real world. So those were things that, as a committee, we really made sure to stand upon. Our process for a textbook adoption was as follows. We had our academy coaches at the respective buildings reach out to stakeholders and help us establish a textbook adoption committee. We then secured 5 printed and digital resources for review. We held meetings to review each individual text. We then moved on to review the resources being guided by our benchmarks and our instructional materials review tool, which I will be showing you. And then in our last meeting, we used that to make our final text recommendations. Our committee was made up of 10 people comprised of various stakeholders. We had APS staff members. We had CCAA partners, so our community partners. We had 2 students who were absolutely dedicated to this process, and of course, our pathway teachers, along with 2 building administrators as well. We met every other week, from January 30th until February 20th on some very cold days. So when we met, we went over the various samples, and then finally again in February, that was when we met in person to recommend and sign the signature sheet saying that we all wanted to do that. We recommended 5 texts, and they are here on the board. I do want to mention our first and second sample are the exact same book. This website textbook adoption came into being because one of our teachers said, I want this book. And the book that they wanted was the 1B sample, Web Development and Design, the 9th edition. By the time we got around to actually doing the textbook adoption, they had come out with a 10th edition. But we also found out that that particular text is a college level of text that would not be accessible to all of our students. But we still included that in the review process along with the others that we secured from various vendors. In evaluating our texts, we use the CCAA Instructional Materials Evaluation tool. This form was used to evaluate all 5 texts that we reviewed in this process. The indicators that were on that tool are as follows. We looked at questions and tasks that reflected grade level standards, high quality electronic student textbook. We were looking at the electronic teachers edition, at the assessments, the differentiated instruction, culturally authentic and diverse electronic text, and last but definitely not least, career exploration and preparation, because again, these are our 12th graders, and we wanted to make sure that what they were learning actually related to what happens in the real world. After our review, we had and our tabulating of all of our scores, it came out that the responsive web design 9th edition was the overwhelming choice by all, and so that is absolutely what the committee decided to go with. So we are recommending that for the web design course, we purchase responsive web design with HTML5 and CSS. It is published by Cengage Learning, and we are asking for the print and digital editions. Again, this would be enough for a class set, if you will, for both Ellet and East. The committee feedback is here on the screen. Out of the recommended text, what was enjoyed was that there was an online platform where teachers can edit individual activities and assign them directly to students, making the process of assigning work a lot more simpler. Our committee member said that I appreciated the chapters dedicated to making a website accessible for all abilities of visitors. This textbook is clearly written and with lots of real-world examples. Again, that was the key, and we were all looking for that. With the other sample text, I won't go into that too much because we don't need to talk about that because that's not what we're asking for. But it was a variety of things that we were concerned about. Especially looking at the level of learning for students and projects that just did not seem to be geared towards diversity. So we went with that text because we just really felt that it provided a higher level of learning for our students. So The cost of our recommended tax is $13,321. It would include 70 physical student books, 35 for each school, along with the teacher edition, and 6-year access per student. So those student licenses will be recycled every year, but it gives us 6 years of usage. And so that is our committee report. Are there any questions that we can answer for you? Of course.
Thank you. So the 6-year usage, the students will have to reset passwords because then, and the other students will not be able to access it once
Exactly.
it's reset.
So it will be in use for that semester, and then of course after graduation, after the students move on, the teachers have an entire semester to reset those licenses for the new students coming in the following spring semester, because this class is only taught spring semester.
And by reset, they just need new passwords, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And the two hard book sets is just for students when they're. Can you tell me about that? I'm a fan of tangible hard books other than just digital. But when it's one set each, is that for students to like working in class, or if they don't have their Chromebook, or if something is dead, then they get an actual hard book, or?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just good teaching to always have a physical something. You never know when the internet is going to shut down.
Absolutely.
And so you want to make sure that you have what you need so that learning always happens.
Love it. Yep, I believe in that. East does a phenomenal job. I have not been to Ellett to observe, but I want to tell you something. East, what those teachers are doing over at East with this department, phenomenal. I mean, those kids are lock and loaded. Yeah. The audio visual, miking you up, being very intentional. Like, I just felt that I was in the presence of true professionals. So kudos to that entire program at ECLC. When I went there for the unveiling of our Bridgestone Firestone partnership, those students were on deck. I mean, dealing with the sound, it was something really good to see, because it was the level of professionalism for me, and the intentionality. So I was really excited about that. My other question is, you talked about the projects did not just seem to be equity based. What can you explain that to me a little more when you said that the one curriculum seemed to lack equity as far as the projects? I don't understand.
So just making sure that it is at the correct level, at a good level that is accessible to all kids. A lot of times, when you're dealing with technology-based text, it is in technology language. And so it was not something that if I just enrolled into APS and I've not had the luxury of having a pathway for 3 years, would I be able to access this text and use it and begin to learn from it? Like I said, one of them was even a college level text. It just was not accessible. It was not something that they could really tie into. And we wanted things that provided a diversity of workplace that gave students an opportunity to see those skills and that knowledge in place in varying work settings, because sometimes you're not just the person creating the website, sometimes you're the person updating it, you're the person maintaining it. So they wanted to make sure that it was something that all students, no matter where you were in your educational walk, you could sort of grab at it and move on with it.
Excellent. That's why I wanted to unpack that to see the various levels. Lastly, the culminating project, because when I look at things like that, and I know the superintendent is very engaged with multimedia, the exposure, and I think, again, back to the student, how can we leverage our students, also pay them, to some capacity if we have top performing students that could develop a website, and where we can pay a student that developed the website, and then whoever needs to manage it, because may not want a student necessarily to have that type of access, but to build it, the visuals and things like that, where those type of high performing students, that it can even be a competition to show examples of their work, where they can sit and meet and talk to the superintendent, because that's real world, right? It's application, and it's a skill that they can make money off of, right to like Vasilati's point, right now. Because you could design a website for the beautician, the barber shop, the restaurant, the clothing brand. part of that entrepreneurial pathway that, seems to get cobwebs on it in a district. But
So I was lucky enough that the teachers invited me into their classrooms while we were going through this process, and this was something that I shared with them throughout college. I did graphic design and web design, and that was my side hustle to get me through college. So we had that conversation, and the teachers are very dedicated to making sure that our CCAA partners are, aware that we have students that have that skill set. And even at Jennings, there was a partner saying, do you have a student that we can use as a social media intern, that we could use as a web design intern? So those conversations are being had at the school level with our partners to get students out there as much as we can. And even to the point that we're looking at, is it possible to do work-based learning? Where could this go? But those conversations are being had.
Two questions now, sorry. The first question, I saw the 6-year timeline on the licenses. So is 6 years what we're anticipating for the hardcover books also to last? Are we expecting this to be this payment for 6 years, or what is the life cycle anticipated to be?
So these books are going to change as technology changes. So I'm pretty certain 6 years we'll probably need another set, because we want the instruction to be relevant to what's going on. It would be terrible if we purchased a book set last year before this evolution of AI. I mean, because now we'd be like, we really need to have new curriculum. So yeah, in 6 years, I'm pretty certain we're going to need another set, if not sooner. But I think that goes part and parcel with our desire to get just the class set, and we really focus on that digital license that we can use for 6 years, because that would definitely be a more effective use of our resources.
Member Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Real quick, I noticed on the slide where you were comparing the book that you want to the other books, and for the other books, everything was negative. But for the book that we're going with, everything was positive.
Well, actually, if you look
go back there.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, right
there you go. Okay.
So,
if you look over on the right, there was some good, good career content. Yeah, so, I see where you are at. Yeah, there were some negative. I do have copies of their feedback with me here if you'd like to take a look at all of the things that were said.
My question would just be, what was
the negative on the left?
Anything? Yeah, because
it's expensive.
Can't be positive. Okay.
It's expensive. That was the negative. It was expensive, and we compared to the others. But I think that the price signals what you're getting. So we're getting 6 years of content, whereas the other versions, they were saying that they wanted us to renew every year or so.
Okay,
and
so this is the only book that gives
this is a 6-year option.
Okay. All right, well, my second question I'll cross off. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that.
If there's no other feedback, then we will look at the next item that was on our agenda, and Deborah Folk would like to talk about the dress code policy.
Good evening. I was working with Dr. Robinson on this parent handbook that goes out every year that is mailed, and I just happened to bring the copy. And part of this particular issue that is in here, for those of you who have been here or are new, is we have two policies. One is student dress, which is 5511, but then there's a subset, which is 5511.01, which is your K through 8 student uniforms that you are aware have been in effect. The original policy, 5511, was from 1998, and it was revised most recently in 2021. The K through 8 uniform policy started in December of 2007 and was finally revised and has been in place in its current format since January of 2008. Recently, over the last several years, due to COVID, that particular section, 5511.01, has, at the board's pleasure, been suspended. Originally, after COVID, it was because we wanted parents an opportunity to get back into the classroom. We realized some parents had not had an opportunity to have funds available to job loss. So our most recent suspension for 5511.01 was for this current school year, 23-24. As we move forward into 24-25, I do know that Dr. Lash and her team are working on the student code in general to bring recommendations. What I'm just seeking and just wanted to advise you is, after meeting with Dr. Robinson last week, we are currently having committee meetings, subset committee meetings. We had one an outreach last Thursday, another one tomorrow night, in which we've invited people to at least come to get an idea if they would think that another suspension for 24-25 of the uniform would be appropriate while we work on the overall policy that really should go to the Legal Policy Committee. So I wanted to let you know that we currently have put out a survey, and it's in several formats. We put out a survey to administrators. We put it out to your student voice people through Ms. Whitfield, and then we started to put that out elaborately to just the general population. Prior to coming down here to report on this tonight, I wanted to let you know I've already gotten 1,190 responses to a very simple question, which is, do you feel we should keep suspension of 5511.01 for the next school year, yes or no? And currently, I have a yes, please suspend it for one more year at a rate of 60.4% and no at a 35.6%. I just wanted to share this with you as we work forward this, because at this point we are in the process of getting this book together. The printer currently has the format for everything but this page, and with an understanding this has to be printed and out to the public starting with the IPS school that opens on July 29th, so it would be released in the student packets for IPS, Akron Early College, and STEM, which open earlier than everybody else by the 16th of July. This is just something that I felt the Instructional Policy Committee should be aware of, because you certainly have your thoughts, I'm sure, on this. It is not that I'm asking anything other to continue what has currently been in place, while Dr. Lash and the rest of us work with the Legal Policy Committee to overview with the superintendent and the administrators and the policy committees regarding the actual policies themselves. We just don't have a lot of time frame. And we wanted, since this was a meeting prior and one of your last ones for this year, we felt it was important that we bring this to you tonight, to your attention. So thank you for allowing me to do this very short presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Falk, and I do appreciate that, and I am in agreement. I don't think that policy such as this should be rushed into, because then things are left out. I think it's, like with any policy, it should be done with fidelity. And when did these surveys go live that you shared with the?
The first survey for the administrators went live after our meeting last week. It was let out on Friday. Mm-hmm. We got the student information from Ms. Whitfield late Friday night, so it went out earlier today, and that student representative was 220 students of various ambassadors and grade levels, and then we released it to every family earlier today. So you're looking at an outreach to about 24,000. Okay. So right now, I will advise my secretary upstairs is going, oh my, it is hitting our queue very quickly. And we've even had a couple of questions. Ms. Carter asked us to help have somebody interpret how to read the question, just so that they were asking and answering it correctly. But I was absolutely glad that we were almost at, 1,200 within, 48 hours of totally releasing. So we are getting good feedback, and asked Jennifer to give me this as I was coming down. So you knew that obviously this is an important topic, but we just wanted to get relevant feedback from our community as we just get this started to put the book and the handbook together, knowing we would need to take this to legal policy in the right format.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I just kind of want the idea because that's like about 10% of people in the district. It sounds like a lot when we're saying 1,000 or 1,200, but when you talk about 20,000 people, 19, it's not that much. But in 48 hours,
But and understand,
that's why I wanted the time.
we don't
frame
have it
kinda
closed yet by any means.
Understood.
So I'm sure tomorrow and Wednesday are going to be fun days as well.
Yeah, that's why I
Thank
just
you.
wanted people to understand the time frame and all that so we can understand. So thank you so much for that because I think it's important because I don't want to see people in pajamas and bonnets. I think if we're going to have college and careers or house shoes, we need to kind of revisit that because I see that a lot in hallways and I'm perplexed by that.
Well, and as these policies have certainly been on our radar for a long time, and I will be honest with you, for those who were not here, the uniform policy that started in 07 and 08 took the board a long time to put together, and it was very robust discussion. And as the small group of us that met in the afternoon of Thursday of last week, the comments were not only to get the feedback just for 24-25, but there was also some comments as people sat and read the actual policies to some of the wording, because it may not be as equitable or is clarification as to what we actually meant, because you realize some of these are 15 years old or older. So we just wanted to start this process in the right way, and this was a good time to bring this to your attention. Thank you.
And thank you so much. And I do agree with that. And I'm looking forward to what comes out of that because I've referenced the book from the previous 2 school years, the student handbook, because I was just confused if there is, because even without uniforms, I think an expectation on how we dress, the adults, because I'm not just talking about kids when I made my comment. The adults in the buildings as well as the students, it's the expectation, because we say we have high expectations. I loved when Halas and her team was there because we were talking about the rigor of the curriculum that they selected and how it was tiered, because we don't start at the floor. We start high and make them stretch. And that starts with how you look, too, how the teachers dress. I know we can't control all that, but yoga pants, and it's just a very rich look at this, I think would be great. Just for the standard, because it's an excellent district and excellence looks a certain way.
Well, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
And the time.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for bringing this to this committee because, as you said, the email to parents went out this afternoon and emails to Renee went out shortly after because there were a lot of people who said they were confused by the survey. So since you're here, if we can clarify, because the yes, from what I was getting, saying yes meant yes, suspend, not yes, uniforms. Saying no meant no, don't suspend, no
Return
means
uniforms.
yes, uniforms.
Yes, you are correct. If you answer yes, you want the suspension to continue for the uniform policy for K through 8 for the next school year of 24-25. If you answer no, you are wishing to have that reestablished as the practice for 24-25 of uniforms being the placeholder and use for K through 8 students only. Because remember, that is only the place, where uniforms are currently in the board's policy. But that doesn't mean if we take the time to do a robust review of both of them, to Ms. Jackson's comments as well, we can make sure that they're not only clarifying in both areas, and we would cover pre-K through 12, then we can also, I would say, also have a robust discussion as to how the professional adults should look, because that's always been a standard that, having come out of healthcare and having always been a person that felt that I wanted to have respect for it as I walk down a hall or I am speaking to you, whether it's at this board table or even out in a community event or on a phone, I want to come across as a professional, and I think we all want that as well. And it's a good role model for our students, whether they're young students or our students who are going through and moving up through our process. And then, too, as an example, as Mr. Basilati and Mr. Rurian brought in, then you'll see those students become professionals, whether they're going to get the certifications to become a staff member for reffing a game, or when they're in those other outreaches in the programs that we do as web designs or whatever other fields that we expose them to.
That's an excellent point, and something that I don't know if we've ever considered, and I don't want to belabor this too much, but if somehow in the pathways the students looked at what is worn professionally for that pathway. You know, what the referees wear is going to be very, very different than what the web designers wear. Well, maybe not the web designers, but just to reiterate and rephrase for the most clarity as possible, yes means keep it the way it was in the 23-24 school year. No means go back to uniforms. So anybody who wants to fill out their survey, that's what those are. Thanks.
And thank you for the help.
All right, thank you so much. Ms. Cole-Rouse, is Equity Committee in the hallway? All right, so I'm not gonna say table, we'll keep this on the agenda to be discussed.
Okay, Madam Chair, they're just updates, so if you guys just want to look at them, it's just giving us a chance to brag a little bit about what our kids are doing in CCAA, how our family resources are doing, and our final closing out the year for Stay in the Game.
Okay.
So they're just updates.
All right, thank you so much. And they cut my time off, so hopefully these other board members will share out some of that good stuff. I'll try to share as much as I can. All right, God bless you. Thank you. This, if no other discussion, then this will conclude our instructional policy meeting for today at 5:43. 13 minutes over. All right, thank you.